Wow, did TV get boring fast now that House of the Dragon Season 1 is over? So I thought we'd take a quick look at the planned spin-off series for both House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I'll share all the information I can find on these shows, as well as how likely I think they are to reach our screens. I'll also cover a few spin-offs I'd like to see in the future. There are a couple in there that might surprise you. So get comfy and let's begin right after my short but snazzy theme tune.
Big days, big reviews. Big days, big reviews.
First up, it's The Walking Dead Westeros, otherwise known as Jon Snow. In June 2022, HBO announced a sequel series based upon Kit Harington's character, Jon Snow. Now, from what I've read, Kit was pretty central to the pitch for the show, so whilst his character may not have wanted to be king,
I don't want it.
it seems our boy Kit certainly wanted more of those sweet Game of Thrones checks. But anyways, my thoughts on this spin-off are mixed. Whilst the idea of following Jon Snow's adventures, presumably north of the wall, don't fill me with a lot of excitement, it does present a few positives. Firstly, HBO can fix a character that Benioff and Weiss completely destroyed in the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. Jon went from everyone's favourite underdog to a brutally painful simp.
You are my queen.
Faster than Prince Harry. Rarely have I seen such a well-liked character become so annoying so fast. It's almost impressive how bad the writers must have been to do that. Secondly, it gives him a chance to apologise in front of the whole world to Ghost for his appalling treatment of the goodest of good boys. To remind you all, Ghost lost an ear and took a hell of a beating at the Battle of Winterfell to protect Jon. And what does that utter ballbag do? Ditch him off on Tormund. Now, I love Tormund, but he's got a self-confessed history of mongling animals, what with that she-bear and all. So he's the last person I'd leave my doggo with. And on Tormund, I presume he'll be front and centre in this spin-off series, which is a big bloody positive in my book. He's one of the few characters I like more in the TV show than I did the books, so more screen time for him's a win as far as I'm concerned. Lastly, there's Drogon. With Daenerys now long gone, Jon Snow is one of the few people alive with Targaryen blood. So will this mean we see the big black dragon bond with him? If I was a betting man, I'd put my ass on it. It's all but a certainty. So barring a total cock-up by the production team, I think this show is all but certain to hit our screens. Next up, we have what I think is fair to call a House of the Dragon spin-off. I'm of course talking about 9 Voyages, which will feature one of the most interesting characters from Fire and Blood, Corlys Velaryon, the Sea Snake. Now, I won't put spoilers in here, but this lad led one hell of an exciting life prior to what we've seen in the House of the Dragon, like full-on Jack Sparrow interested. So if done well, it's got a good shot of making some bloody decent TV. So I for one hope this show makes it to our screens. Now, I couldn't find much more information, but I did see some rumours that the show had been cancelled already. But as far as I can tell, the show has been officially confirmed and has not been officially cancelled. So therefore, we can assume it's still in production. Initially, I had this as my most certain spin-off to be released, but given the recent rumours, I've moved it below Jon Snow in terms of likelihood. Next up is the Tales of Dunk and Egg series. Now, Big Dave's got a confession for you all. He's not gotten round to reading these books yet. They've been sitting on my Kindle for ages, but between running my plumbing and repairs business, writing YouTube videos, and fighting court cases for shoddy plumbing and repairs work, I haven't had much time for reading lately. Regardless, I know a bit about these books, so I'm pretty excited about the prospect of this spin-off series. My main reasons for optimism are that old George Martin has written 3 books on these 2 likely lads, so the TV writers have some source material to go on. And from what I do know about the books, they're much more focused on Sir Duncan and Aegon, with far less sweeping plots and a smaller cast of characters. Hopefully, this means it'll be much easier to produce than your average show set in Westeros. On the downside, we're probably 6 to 12 books short of completing the story, so very early in the series, the writers will run out of George's material, and we all know how that's ended up in the past. Now, I don't think this show is as likely to see the light of day as the other 2, as I'm pretty sure George R.R. Martin didn't want a TV version until after he completes the books, and I believe he plans on finishing The Winds of Winter first. All in all, that means it's about as likely to finish the Dunk and Egg series as I am to avoid being sued for shoddy plumbing. Still, if the production company chucks enough money George's way, maybe he'll greenlight it. Next, we have 10,000 Ships. Set more than 1,000 years before Game of Thrones takes place, 10,000 Ships follows the journey of Princess Nymeria of the Rhoynar. Now, for those who remember, Nymeria is the heroic lady that Alicent and Rhaenyra loved reading about together in House of the Dragon, and who Arya named her direwolf after in Game of Thrones. So what's her story? Well, after her people, the Rhoynar, got their asses handed to them by the Targaryens and their dragons, no shame there, it was Nymeria that led the refugees out of Essos, across the seas to eventually settle in Dorne. There's plenty more to both her journey and her time in Dorne, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone in case the show gets made. And on that note, I think there is a decent chance they release this spin-off. Strong female leads are all the rage these days, and God knows we're due a good one. So next up is Flea Bottom, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know a whole lot about this potential spin-off, but what I will say is it would be rather refreshing to see King's Landing from the working man or woman's viewpoint. Reading George R.R. Martin's books, there are plenty of references to this famous slum within King's Landing, and plenty of famous characters were born and raised there. If it does go ahead, Flea Bottom will provide an incredibly rich backdrop for characters and story development, and who knows, depending on the time the show is set in, maybe they'll weave in some of the established characters and stories we're familiar with too. Either way, if it does go ahead, it'll mean we get to hear plenty of characters doing their best dodgy London accents. Unfortunately, there's already plenty of rumours that it's already been canned, so I'm not getting my hopes up for this one. Lastly, I'll quickly mention the 3 animated series that are apparently in the works. All I could find out about one of them was that it's set in Yi. That's George R. Martin's version of Imperial China. Other than that, I know sod all about them, so who knows? Certainly not me. Finally, I thought I'd run through 3 spin-offs I'd like to see. Firstly, the Baratheon Rebellion. It's no secret that I fucking love Robert Baratheon. What a bloke. Starts a civil war for the love of Lyanna Stark, wades into battle time after time, seeking to splatter the most fearsome knights on the enemy's side with his massive warhammer.
Gods, I was strong then.
Until he finally wins the throne. Then says, sod it, running the 7 Kingdoms is boring as balls. I'm getting shit-faced, baby. Proper lad, I tell ya. I personally think it'd be amazing to see Robert's journey from Jon Arryn's squire to King of the 7 Kingdoms. And I know it's a big ask, but if they could somehow find a young actor with Mark Addy's charisma and screen presence, but the actual size and strength of Robert Baratheon from the books, then they'll be on to a real winner. Chuck in a young Ned Stark and what's not to love. We'd also get to see Jaime's journey from heir to Castle Rock to Kingsguard to Kingslayer, and a host of other fascinating stories as well. There were rumours a while back that just such a show was in the works, but it's all but confirmed to be untrue. Shame really. I suppose TV companies would worry about recasting beloved characters with younger versions of themselves, and it would be the issue of reshooting scenes we saw in Bran's flashbacks from Game of Thrones, such as the Tower of Joy stuff. Sadly, I don't see it happening anytime soon, but I can hope. The next spin-off would be something from the Age of Heroes, maybe Bran and the Builders story. We'd get more insights into the First Men, and of course the Children of the Forest, as well as the White Walkers. We'd get to see the building of Winterfell and the Wall, and hopefully lots of giants. As a builder myself, what more could you ask for? Last but not least, of course, we'd all like to see Cooking with Hot Pie, a culinary voyage through the delicious delights of King's Landing. So that's my list. Let me know in the comments below which spin-offs you're looking forward to, of those that are planned, and which you'd like to see that aren't in production yet. And just think how mental it would be if at some point in the future there's 2 or maybe even 3 House of Dragon / Game of Thrones series running at the same time. My god, what a time to be alive that would be. Bloody hell, you've made it to the end of the show. Well done you. Now, if you could be a diamond and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, that will make sure we can keep in touch in future. Please also drop a like on the video and maybe even comment below. A bit of banter is always welcome. I'd like to wish you all the best. Until next time.